Manalangin po tayo. Dakilang Panginoon Diyos, may-ari ng sanlibutan, pinupuri namin ang iyong pangalan. Kami nagpapasalamat sa panalangin at gabay na ibinigay mo sa amin. Salamat sa panibagong araw na ipinagkaloob mo. Salamat din sa pagkakataon na ibinigay mo upang kami ay muling magtipon para sa panibagong kaalaman. Kami po ay humihiling na nawa po ay gabayan mo po kami sa aming pag-aaral at bigyan mo po kami ng makalangit na kaalaman at lakas upang kami ay matuto. At nawa po ang lahat ng aming matutunan ay magamit namin sa pagtulong sa aming kapwa. Patawarin mo po kami sa aming mga kasalanan at nawa po ang lahat ng aming gagawin ay maging alinsunod sa iyong kautusan. Ang lahat ng ito ay aming sinasamo sa ngalan ng aming Panginoong Hesus. Amen. Magandang umaga po sa lahat ng mga kadete nationwide from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, sa lahat po ng mga respectable deans, faculty and staff in various criminology schools, sa lahat po ng mga magaganda at mga gwapong professors po natin and lecturers in various schools nationwide, pati na po yung mga magigiting natin na mga review lecturers na tumutulong po 24/7 para lang po ang mga criminology graduates maging RCRIM. Maraming salamat po sa contribution niyo po sa pagtulong sa mga criminology graduates po natin. Also, I'd like to welcome po yung mga takers po natin for the upcoming criminologist licensure examination. Good luck po. God bless. Tiwala sa Diyos at tiwala sa sarili. Yan po ang susi para makapagpasa po kayo sa board examination. 99% faith in God, 1% yung human effort po natin. Isandal po natin lahat ng effort natin sa Panginoon because without God, we are nothing. I'd like also to welcome sa lahat po ng mga estudyante natin from first year up to fourth year, okay? Welcome po. Pagbaguhan ka pa po, I'd like to request to share our video at the same time promote po yung channel po natin kasi po yung channel natin, ang Bikoyno po, libre po ito. Wala po itong bayad, ha? Hindi nakahidden yung mga videos natin. No need to pay a single dime, okay? Libre po. Isang legasiya po ng Bikoyno na makapagtulong po kasi po ako, pobre din po ako nung nasa undergrad. So, isa po itong, it's a matter of an initiative on my part to give back sa community, sa mga future registered criminologists, ang achievement ko po na nakukuha ko. So, I'd like to invite everyone to please subscribe, share po sa video po natin. Now, mga ma'am and mga sir, mga takers at the same time mga estudyante po, allow me to promote again as a custom yung libro po natin. Ang libro po natin is Bikoyno Review Material po. Isa po itong book containing 2 chapters. Unang chapter po, synthesized review material po na naka-align na po sa latest table of specification. Naka-arrange na po yan per major area. Yung chapter 2 naman, question and answer portion po. Wala po tayong PDF copy sa libro, ha? Wala tayong PDF copy kasi po, nung una, binigyan ko yung mga takers ng PDF copy. Ang kaso, nag-aabuso. In-upload sa mga online platforms. Tapos, naging libre na. May payment kasi tayo mga kadete. At least yung payment nyo po, yung binabayaran nyo po sa libro, tinutulong ko din po yan sa mga dialysis patients po na tinutulungan ko dito sa Negros Oriental. Okay? So, pag nagbili po kayo, it's one way of helping them. Okay? Wag po nating nakawin yung mga bagay-bagay na hindi po atin. Okay? So, mga kadete ha, mga estudyante, advanced reading po tayo. Advanced reading ha, importante yan. Kasi pag hindi tayo nakapag-advanced reading, we wait for us to graduate. Nako, in taking the board examination, maging difficult yan. Pero right now, pag nakapag-advanced reading tayo, advanced studying, kasi estudyante pa lang, pag-graduate natin, taking the board examination might a little bit easy. Sa lahat po ng mga self-review, ito po ang material which is very ideal. A good reference po sa preparation ng board examination. Sa mga ma'am and sir, pag medyo kapos po tayo sa oras, yung mga instructor natin, review lectures, mga professors po, guest lectures, pag medyo kulang yung oras natin sa preparation, ma'am, yung PDF copy po ng subject discussion available po yan for just a very minimal price po. Pati na po yung PowerPoint presentation. Sa lahat po na nag-avail, mga ma'am and sir, pag nakapag-avail kayo sa PPT or PDF, edit nyo lang ng konti. Kahit yung pangalan ko, remove nyo na yung pangalan ko. Lagyan ng pangalan nyo and make it as your own. No need po to ask permission from me. No need to give credit. Sa inyo na po yan. Hindi naman po importante yung mga recognition na yan eh. Yung mga appreciation na yan. Hindi yan importante sa mundong ito. Importante ha, mga maman, mga sir, maging mayaman po tayo sa taas. Maging mayaman po tayo sa taas. Kahit pobre tayo dito sa lupa, kahit pobre tayo dito sa kung saan tayo tumitira ngayon, ang importante mayaman po tayo sa taas. No need for recognition, no need for the bling-bling and all those credit stuff. Okay? So maraming salamat ha sa nag-avail. Alright? Now, I'd like to welcome everyone sa subject discussion po natin on specialized crime investigation with simulation of interrogation and interview. Lahat ng topics po dito align po sa latest of specification. Now, without further ado, okay? Without further ado, tingnan muna natin ang pagkakaiba between interrogation and interview, okay? I'd like to cite 4 major differences of the two words, okay? Una, pag interview po, ito po'y questioning to a person who is cooperating in the line of questioning. Okay? Again, pag interview po, yung taong tinatanong nagko-cooperate in the line of questioning. Yan po, interview yan. Pagpunta natin sa interrogation, opposite po. Yung taong tinatanong is reluctant to divulge the information. Ibig sabihin ng reluctant. Reluctant, ibig sabihin ayaw niya. Talagang ayaw niya. Or he wanted to talk but the only way for him to talk, there's a need to intervene or utilize some strategies just for him to admit on something. Yun po. Pag cooperating yung subject of the questioning, tawag po niyan interview. Pag hindi siya nakakapag-cooperate, hindi siya cooperative or reluctant siya, tawag po doon sa line of questioning is interrogation. Yan po ang unang difference, mga kadete ha. Pangalawang difference, ang purpose po ng interview is to gather information about the crime. So, let us say, pupunta ka ngayon sa crime scene, you want to gather the 5 cardinal points. What happened? Where does it happen? Where did it happen? Who are the persons involved? Yun po. The purpose of the interview is merely to gather information. Pero ang purpose ng interrogation is to extract confession or admission coming from the person being questioned. Kuha niyo po, sa interview, ano ang purpose? To gather further information about the crime. Pero sa interrogation, ano yung purpose? In order to gain or obtain admission or confession from the subject. Okay? Next, pangatlong pagkakaiba sa dalawa. Yung interview po, ang investigator asking the question is neutral and objective and not accuse the subject of the wrongdoing. Okay? Neutral and objective, at the same time, hindi ka nag-a-accuse sa subject on a particular crime. Pero sa interrogation, iba po, opposite siya. Kasi po sa interrogation, ang interrogator is directly accusing the suspect on a particular crime. Yun po, pangatlong pagkaiba yan. Ang pang-apat po na difference, pag interview, gumagamit yan ng open-ended questions. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng open-ended questions, mga kadete? Ito po yung mga tanong that is requiring an explanation or narration coming from the subject. Okay? Requiring a narration or explanation coming from the subject. For example, what happened? Okay? Yung what happened in this crime scene. It requires the subject to narrate. So basically, it's an open-ended question. Why also is a question that will require a person to reason out. It is also an open-ended question. Pero yung lahat ng mga tanong na answerable by yes or no, yun po ay tinatawag na direct questions or closed questions, closed-ended questions. So pag closed-ended questions or direct questions, tinatanong po yan doon po sa suspect during interrogation, not during interview. So basically, if we will sum up, sa interview po, mas less or mas lenient po yung treatment sa subject. Pero sa interrogation, hindi po siya. Medyo stricto. So sa interview, ang tinatanong po natin yung mga witnesses. Pag interrogation, yung tinatanong po natin yung mga suspect. Okay? So yun po ang differences between interview and interrogation. Okay? Klarong-klaro po yan Now, may golden rule po tayo in the conduct of interview. Unahin muna natin yung interview mga kadete. Later on, we will go with the mechanics of the interrogation. Ang golden rule po ganito, never conduct or let anyone conduct an interview if the interviewer has not gone to the crime scene or without prior visit to the crime scene. Ano bang ibig sabihin nito? Ibig sabihin, as a golden rule in interview, huwag ka munang magtanong. Never ask somebody on some questions if you yourself was not even there at the crime scene. You do not even had the chance to visit the crime scene. Pag hindi ka kasi pumunta sa crime scene, wala kang idea. So para magkapag-idea ka sa lahat ng ebidensya na nakikita mo and linking it to probably the suspect, or for you to require somebody to get or to give an information, you must have a background of what the crime scene is all about. So yun po ang pinaka-importante. So ibig sabihin ng golden rule sa lahat po na nagre-review right now, golden rule in interview, yung presensya mo po, yung knowledge mo po in the crime scene is important before you conduct a questioning or the line of questioning. Okay? Now, may general stages tayo sa interview. May tinatawag din po tayong specific. Okay? Unahin ko po ang general stages ng interview mga kadete. Again, huwag kalimutan natin pag interview, again, yung tinatanong po is cooperating. Okay? Pangalawa po, pag interview, ang purpose is pag-gather ng information. Pangatlo po, ang line or nature of questioning is neutral and objective. Pang-apat po, open-ended question yung ginagamit. Okay? Ang interview, ang tinatanong is witness. Okay? Klaro yan. Now, tatlo preliminary interview, pangalawa follow-up interview, pangatlo final interview. Napaka-easy nitong intindihin mga kadete So pag preliminary, ano ibig sabihin yan? The initial questioning. Okay? So pag initial questioning sa subject, usually conducted at the crime scene, though it may be carried out also at the subject's home or workplace, ang tawag po niyan, preliminary interview. Pag initial questioning, saan ba ito nangyayari? Doon, probably in the crime scene or in the workplace or at the house or home of the witness. Ang tawag po niyan, preliminary interview. After preliminary interview, may tinatawag tayong follow-up interview. Ang follow-up, ito yung succeeding questions. Ang purpose po ng pag-interview again is to obtain further information. Pag may mga data kasi na kailangang i-clarify, okay? Pag may mga data that needs to be further clarified, kailanganin po mag-follow up ka. Magtanong ka uli. Ang tawag po niyan is follow-up interview. Yung last questioning po, that may lead to the act of offering a witness to testify in court during trial. Ito na po na yung stage na pinaka-last. Ang stage na pwedeng i-alok yung witness na makapag-testify sa korte. Ang tawag po nito sa stage na to is final interview. So tatlo lang po preliminary, yung ang unang stage, initial questioning yan. Ang nangyayari yan, either at the crime scene, at the house, or at the workplace. Follow-up interview, ang purpose po niyan is to obtain further information, to clarify some issues. Final interview, ito po yung last questioning and probably ito po yung point na ang investigator will solicit or will ask or invite the witness to testify in court. Yun po ang general stages po natin. Now, may specific stages din po tayo sa interview mga kadete ha. Lagyan ko na po ng abbreviation, mnemonics po natin POC. Okay? POC. P stands for preparation, A stands for approach, W, warming up, at saka yung letter C, cognitive interview. Okay? So, apat po dito ha, pag specific stages of interview. So, una po, preparation. Ano ibig sabihin ng preparation? It's basically reviewing the facts. Kaya nga, yung golden rule natin sa interview, huwag kang magtanong pag hindi ka nakapagpunta doon sa crime scene. Yun po ang requirement. Yung attendance mo doon is a requirement. Ha? So, preparation, i-review mo lahat ng facts of the crime scene and all relevant information from other sources. So, hindi ka pa nakapagtanong, nag-prepare ka pa lang. Anong pamamaraan sa pag-prepare? I-review mo lahat yung facts. Pati na po yung mga importanteng information na gamitin mo sa pagtanong mo sa witness. Pangalawa, after nakapag-prepare ka na, nakapag-review ka na ng facts, approach na. Okay? Ano mangyari sa approach? Ang investigator will carefully select his kind of approach which may be a single kind, a combination of two, or the application of all techniques. Kasi marami tayong mechanics marami tayong techniques in the conduct of the interview. So, depende po yung approach po natin on the subject's emotional or behavioral aspect. Okay? So, depende po yan. Pag timid, for example, yung tao. Pag timid, let's say, for example, ayaw niyang magbigay ng information or shy type siya. Shy type. Ano dapat ang approach natin pag shy type? Di ba yung friendliness po is a good way of approaching the timid witness? So, depende po kasi yan. Pag talkative naman, iba din po yung approach natin. So again, I'd like to say na yung approach po would basically be dependent on the nature of the behavior or demeanor of the witness. Okay? So sa approach, mag-select ka ng right strategy to approach the witness. Okay? After approach, ang pangatlo po is warming up. So sa warming up, dito na po pupunta yung investigator sa witness. Okay? So dito, magsimula na yung katanungan ng yung formal questions ng investigator to the witness. Warming up, this is done by preliminary or exploratory question to clear the atmosphere, promote a conducive ground for friendship, respect, and trust. Paano mo po ba makapag-establish ng atmosphere that is conducive for the interview? Probably, yung una example, magtanong ka, nakapag-breakfast ka na ba, Brad? O sabi ng witness, hindi pa. Sabihin mo ngayon. O sige, after nito, after I ask you questions, bibigyan kita ng pang-breakfast or probably magsabay tayo ng breakfast. Diba? It's a good strategy. The purpose of it is not basically to brag to the witness that you have the money, but the purpose of it is to open or to allow the witness to open himself or herself to you. Pag may friendliness kasi sa atmosphere, it will make the interview easier. Okay? Kasi ang una dito pag witness ka, ang una kasing anxiety nito is, can I trust this police officer? Can I trust him? Can he give me protection? Remember mga kadete, it is not easy to talk, especially if the subject matter of the discussion is about the crime. Kasi po, ang witness, defer the repercussion Ang mindset po niyan is, pag nagsasalita ako, probably after this, the accused or the criminal will go back to me and will give probably vengeance against me. So yun po ang mindset. So, ang mindset na yan, ma-reduce po yan, ma-eliminate by establishing an atmosphere conducive for the interview. So friendliness, a good approach is very important. So sa warming up sa warming up, you can do whatever. There are so many ways in killing the dog, right? So kaya nga po yung interview RT yan eh. So probably you will ask him na nakapag-breakfast na ba siya? Taga saan po siya? And then probably you will say na yung mother niya is classmate mo, or probably you know other individuals with the same surname like him, or probably you will appreciate him on his contribution in the society. Yung mga ganyan, at least makapag-establish ka ng friendliness. Next, ang last mo is cognitive interview. So pag nakapag-establish ka na, requirement ang pag-establish ng conducive atmosphere conducive for the interview. So pag nakapag-establish ka na, magtanong ka na ngayon. Cognitive interview. In this stage, the subject is asked to narrate his account without interruption, intervention, or interference. Ano ibig sabihin dyan? So, you ask the witness to narrate what happened, okay? And when the witness is narrating, it is advisable that you should not interfere or you should not intervene on the narration. Bakit po dapat walang interruption? Kasi po, pag nag-i-interrupt ka, it will disrupt the flow or the transition of the idea from one point to the other. Instead of connecting the ideas from one point from letter A to B to C to D, kasi nag-interrupt ka, nako, pag na-disrupt yan, it will actually destroy the transition of the idea. Magtanong ka lang doon na po pag natapos na po yung narration. Okay? So yun po pose C. Preparation, approach, warming up, cognitive interview. Okay? Pero sa general mga kadete, tatlo lang yan, preliminary, follow-up, at saka yung final interview. Okay? Sunod, rules in questioning. Okay? Kadete napaka-comprehensive po sa discussion natin na it is okay pag aabot tayo ng 1 hour or 2 hours. Importante nito, talagang ma-explain ko lahat kung anong dapat ibig sabihin ng mga phrases. Kasi po, if we will go directly, pag in-memorize natin yan, especially yung nagre-review right now, makinig po kayo mga brad, Wag nyo lang i-memorize. Kasi yung kasi natin, yung common practice, memorize natin. Importante na memorize mo, pero alam mo po, naintindihan mo yung concept behind the memorization, behind the term. Kasi po, hindi verbatim yun sa board examination. So, let us understand the phrases. Okay? Rules in questioning. Una, one question at a time. Anong ibig sabihin ng one question at a time? Huwag mong pagsabayin yung mga tanong. Isang tanong lang. After one question, you allow him to answer. Pangalawa, avoid implied answers. Ano ibig sabihin ng implied answers? Implied answers para ikaw yung nagbibigay ng sagot. Allow him to narrate. Do not give him a clue on something. For example, you will ask him, is it true that the crime happened at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Saying 3 o'clock is an implied answer. So, instead of asking, like, is it true that it happened at 3 o'clock? Why not ask him, what time did the crime occur? Okay? What time did the crime occur? Yun po ang dapat na tanong. Okay? So, avoid implied answers po. Then, simplicity of questions. Ano ibig sabihin ng simplicity of questions? Simplihan po natin, we should avoid legal terms. Like say for example, saan po nangyari yung murder? Alam ba ng witness kung anong ibig sabihin ng murder? Instead of saying saan nangyari yung murder, probably if it's about stabbing incident, di sabihin mo saan ba nangyari yung stabbing incident. Okay? Next, saving faces. Anong ibig sabihin ng saving faces? Sa lahat po ng re-review right now. Pati na po sa mga professor, instructor natin. Ang ibig sabihin ng saving faces po, yung tinutulungan natin, ina-assist natin yung witness to be embarrassed on some minor erroneous answers given by him to the investigator. May mga kasi dyan, may mga sagot na medyo may error, may konting error on the part of the witness. Instead of giving a ridicule or an embarrassing reaction towards the witness, you ask him or you ask him to clarify on something. Let us say, for example, nangyayari yung krimen is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Nakalimutan niya. Instead of saying 3 o'clock in the afternoon, sabi niya 3 o'clock in the morning. So, and then you embarrass him because he committed a minor mistake. Ay, naku, hindi po yan. So, probably you will clarify. You clarify whether it's really afternoon or in the morning. Okay, yun po, saving face. Kasi pag ini-embarrass natin yan, I tell you, you are closing the door of some information. Okay? You are closing the door of some information. And if you close the door, I tell you, the next time you ask him a question, hindi na yan sasagot because he is already contained, or he is already, shall I say, restrained from giving his thoughts or ideas on something. Okay? Next, components of the interview. Sa lahat po ng magti-take ng board examination, memorize nyo po yung specific stages, memorize nyo po yung general stages, pati na po yung components of the interview. Ironic format po tayo. Okay? That's very easy. Pag hindi nyo pa alam yung ironic format, naku, balik kayo sa undergrad, especially yung mga 40 right now. Ha? Itong ironic format, this is a redundant topic from fundamentals of criminal investigation. Pag hindi nyo pa alam yan, kasi natutulog kayo during the discussion, yung instructor mo, panay absent. Di ba? Shout out sa mga instructor natin dyan, ha? Huwag kayong panay absent. Do not be after on what you can get. Be after on what you can give to the students. After you log in sa biometrics, umuwi na kayo. Di ba? Tapos di kayo nakapag-conduct ng klase, binigyan nyo lang ng seat work. Anyway, dapat may puso tayo sa pagtuturo, ha? Okay, components of the interview, mga kadete, ironica, memorize nyo yan, mga estudyante. I stands for identity, R, rapport. Rapport, ha? Huwag nyo sabing rapport. Rapport yan, that's the correct pronunciation. Then O for opening statement, and then N stands for narration, I for inquiry, at saka letter C, conclusion. Isa-isahin po natin. Pag identity, ito po ay prior to the start of the interview. Hindi ka pa nakapagtanong. Okay? Ano ang gagawin ng investigator sa identity? Sa identity, ang gawin ng investigator, he will introduce himself to the witness. Introduce niya. Ano yung pangalan niya? Saan siya naka-assign? Ano yung rank niya? Yan po, identity yan. For example, I am Sargenta. I am Police Corporal Juan de la Cruz, assigned in Dumaguete Police Station. Okay? I was working as a blah 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 for 10 years. Yung mga ganyan. Okay? Identity yan. Sunod, rapport. Rapport naman, ibig sabihin yung relationship, yung connection natin. Pag wala kasing connection, mga kadete, from the speaker and to the listener. Pag walang connection from the speaker to the listener, nako, walang mangyayari sa communication. The communication is not effective. Let us say, for example, yung ginagawa ko ngayon, if I cannot catch your attention right now, probably you are viewing this video, or probably you are listening to me right now, but your mind is in the planet, in different planets in the universe. Probably your mind right now is in planet Jupiter. Naku, walang mangyayari pag walang connection, mga kadete. Kaya nga, sabi ko nga sa mga instructors na I am a dean in a particular university in Dumaguete. So what I usually tell my instructor, always establish rapport in discussion, in the classroom discussion. Pag walang connection, unstable yung connection between the speaker, yung instructor, at saka yung listener, yung mga estudyante, the students will not learn something. If I am speaking right now, you might be probably listening or looking to my videos right now, but if your mind is not into the discussion, nothing will happen. In the same manner, pag interview yan, ikaw yung investigator, siya yung witness, pag hindi ka nakapag-establish ng connection to the witness, walang mangyayari sa interview. Kaya importante yung rapport. Now, how will you establish a connection? You establish a positive feeling of the subject towards the investigator. Kanina, ang sabi ko po, sa specific stages of interview, sa approach, dapat alam mo po kung anong strategy na i-utilize mo. After sa approach, di ba sabi ko warming up? Di ba? Sa specific stages, warming up. So, ano gagawin mo sa warming up? Di ba? Sa warming up, you have to establish friendliness. In the same manner, sa rapport din po, you have to establish friendliness in order for the witness to be open hand in terms of giving the information. So again, ano ba yung example natin? Baka tanungin mo, nakapag-breakfast ka na ba? Sabi ng witness, hindi pa. Okay, after this, sabay tayo. Ano yung surname mo? Sabi niya, De La Cruz. Ah, De La Cruz ka? Classmate, may classmate ako, De La Cruz eh. De La Cruz yung apelido niya, parang yun, from your place. Baka baka relative mo yan. It's just anything that could, establish friendliness. And by establishing friendliness, positive feeling in the atmosphere, the interview will become a little bit easy. Okay? Rapport po yan, ha? Sunod. Pag nakapag-establish ka na, Brad, ng rapport, ano ang susunod? Opening statement, right? Sa opening statement, dito ka na mag-initiate sa rason kung bakit ang witness is contacted. Okay? Ibig sabihin, ano ba ang rason? So after you ask, nakapag-breakfast ka na ba? Baka sabay tayo mamaya, ha? Sabay tayo. I am here because I will be asking you question kasi about the crime that happened a while ago. Can you probably give, or maybe you can tell to the witness na as a member of the society, may mga may mga responsibility tayo na dapat nating gampanan para ma-establish or ma-maintain yung peace and security in the community. Lahat po tayo magtutulong-tulungan, di ba? So, by saying these things, these are just very trivial things, but by saying this, it will clear the atmosphere, okay? It can establish connection. And by establishing connection, you can start by telling your reasons why you are contacting the witness. Opening statement po yun. Okay? Yung rason kung bakit mo kinokontak yung witness. Pagkatapos niyan, pag effective mo yung identity report at saka opening statement, ano ang mangyayari? O yung witness magna-narrate na. The witness will be telling his or her story about the crime. So yun na po. Dito ang sabi, little interruption, ha. Kanina, ang sa specific stages, no interruption. Pero sa ironic format, may little interruption. Ano ibig sabihin ng little interruption? An interruption that will not destroy the transition between concept, one idea to the other. For example, he will say 3 o'clock let's say 3 o'clock in the afternoon, tapos bulol siya. Ang narinig mo is 2 o'clock. So probably you will ask him, ano ba yun? 2 or 3 o'clock. So that's a little interruption. Anything that will not destroy the transition of the idea. Little interruption lang, ha. Pero po yung interruption will destroy or disrupt the flow of the idea. Nako, iwasan po natin yan. Sunod. Inquiry. Ano mayari sa inquiry? After narration, magtatanong na yung investigator, and then after that, conclusion na. Okay? You thank the subject or you thank the witness for his cooperation. And then you close the interview. Yun po ang ironic format. Memorize natin mga kadete, lahat po ng mga stages and components na yan. Okay? Sunod. Types of interview in criminal cases. Okay? Una, itong tinatawag nating background interview. 4 po tayo, ha? May 4 tayo. Ibig sabihin ng background interview, nakafocus po ito sa personal background of the subject. Okay? Remember, ang background interview or BI, tinatawag itong the simplest type of interview. Huwag kalimutan, ha? The simplest type of interview. Sunod, itong tinatawag nating subjective interview. Anong ibig sabihin ng subjective interview? Ito po yung pagtatanong on the opinion of the witness on a particular issue. Opinion niya. Ano yung opinion ng witness? Tinatanong mo yung opinion niya or yung views niya on a particular issue. At tawag po niyan, subjective. Pero pag objective interview, iba po siya. Hindi mo tinatanong about his interpretation, about his opinion on some issue. But you're asking him about the 6 cardinal points of investigation. Again, sa subjective, you're asking the witness about his opinion, his view, his perception on something. Pero sa objective interview, hindi po. Ang tinatanong mo yung 5 W's at saka yung 1 H. Ang 5 Ws po, tinatawag po yung cardinal points of investigation. Ano po yung 5 Ws, mga kadete basic na po ito. What, when, where, who, and why. At saka yung isang H, how. Okay? Yun po, 5 Ws and 1 H po yan. Tinatawag po yung cardinal points of investigation. Okay? Sunod sa objective interview, yung pang-last na type po is yung cognitive interview. Ano ba yung cognitive interview? Ito po yung pagtatanong sa isang subject or witness kung saan po sinasabihan mo or nire-require mo yung subject to narrate a particular story or to narrate a particular event or happening. Narrate their accounts without intervention, interruption, or interference from the interviewer. Sabi dito no interruption, no interference. Pero sabi ko kanina, sa ironic format sabi ko sa narration, little interruption. Little interruption, okay? Sa cognitive interview, you ask him to narrate on a particular event or happening, okay? So yun po, types of interview po yan. Alright? Next, punta tayo sa types of witnesses. Ito mga kadete, nagsisilabasan ito sa previous criminologist licensure examination. Nilagay ko po dito 1 to 9 po Nilagay ko po 1 to 9, right? So, una po dito is know-nothing type. From the word itself, anong ibig sabihin yan? Ito yung mga reluctant, talagang ayaw. Sabi nila, hindi nila alam. Reluctant, right? And this type of witness can be found among uneducated, yung mga hindi edukado or yung mga taong low level of intelligence. Okay? Yun po, know-nothing type yan. Disinterested type naman, ito yung mga witness na uncooperative and indifferent subject. Okay? Talagang ayaw nila makipag-cooperate. Disinterested yan. Pangatlo, yung tinatawag nating drunken type. From the word drunk, ibig sabihin yung tao is intoxicated. Pero, ang sabi dito, dapat tanungin mo when the person is drunk. And then, tanungin mo uli when the person sober. Ibig sabihin dyan, pag ang tao is hindi na po siya lasing, hindi na siya lasing, naging normal na yung state of mind niya, magtanong ka uli. Para at least, to confirm yung previous quiz, yung previous answers niya during the first interview. Okay? Pangapat, yung talkative type. Ito yung mga taong nag-exaggerate, adding irrelevant or new matters to their narration. Ano ibig sabihin dyan? Yung tanong mo is about the stabbing incident. Pero, not just, the witness is not just narrating the stabbing incident, but he's also including himself. About his occupation, about his poverty in life, yung mga plights niya, which are irrelevant to the subject matter. Yun po, talkative type yan. Panglima, yung tinatawag nating cooperative and truthful witnesses. Ito yung mga honest witnesses. Pag may truthful, yung mga honest witnesses, may mga liar din po. Liar type of witnesses. Ito yung mga deceitful witnesses. Yung timid witnesses, ito yung mga shy. Okay? Mga shy. Sa Bisaya pa, shy tiglaba, shy tigloto. Shy type, mga kadete, yung mga Tagalog natin dyan. Ibig sabihin ng shy, ito po yung mga taong ayaw, yung parang ayaw nilang makipag-mingle or makipag-interact with the community. Okay? They are loners. Okay? You are loners. Mga timid po yan. So, timid witnesses, they are shy type guys. Then, after timid witnesses, may tinatawag din po tayong boasting, egoistic, or egocentric witnesses. Okay? So, ito yung mga taong, ibig sabihin ng boastful, yung mga hambog ba? Yung mga hambog brad. O, yung pag hindi ako, talagang walang makakita, walang makapag-notify sa police. Yung mga ganyan. Boasting, egoistic, or egocentric witnesses po yan. They will be good witnesses because of their ability of expressing their accounts about the commission of crime. The investigator must be patient in dealing with them so as not to hit or override their ego or self-pride. So, just let them speak and gather relevant information. Number 9, yung tinatawag nating refusal to talk witnesses. Ito yung tinatawag nating pinaka-difficult kind of witness to deal with. Okay? So yun po ang mga types of witnesses, mga kadete. Now, bakit ba usually in the Philippines right now, the reality on the ground is, there are so many witnesses that refuse to cooperate with the Philippine National Police. Okay, bakit ba? What are the reasons why people tend to be reluctant in divulging information about the crime? Ano ba yung mga rason? Una po, yung tinatawag nating fear of reprisal. Ano ibig sabihin ng reprisal? Yung revenge or vengeance coming from the criminal. Sabi ko kanina, ang mindset kasi ng isang tao, pag magsalita siya, there might be a high probability that the criminal will go back to him and might initiate any kind of criminal act against him or his family. Yun po. Especially if the witness is invited to testify. Okay? Kasi there might be a probability na pag mag-guilty yan, the moment he served the sentence, and then he go out from prison, baka ikaw yung babalikan. Yun po, fear of reprisal. In fact, ang rason po na ito is the top one reason why a lot of people will not talk. Okay? Pangalawa, great inconvenience. Ano ibig sabihin ng great inconvenience? Nakadisrupt po kasi yan eh. Nakadisrupt sa trabaho natin. Nakadisrupt po yan sa harmony ng buhay natin. Right? So, pag nagtatrabaho ka, tapos you have been invited to become a witness, pag nag-testify ka ngayon, pag wala ka sa witness protection program, pag ordinary witness ka lang, ano mangyari sa trabaho mo? Maging absent ka. And that can cause great inconvenience on your financial aspect. Okay? Pangatlo, hatred against the police. May tinatawag po tayong public apathy, mga kadete. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng public apathy? Ito yung loss of trust against the police. Public apathy include na din po yan yung mga discriminating nature on the part of the community members towards the policemen. Ayaw nila makapag-cooperate kasi they have this, hate, thinking that the police are not friends. Mga kadete mga police po natin, mga kaibigan po natin, yan, they are the protectors of the community. Pero minsan nga I don't know, I really do not understand. Bakit po ang community sometimes is too negative with our Philippine National Police? Probably because of some issues hampering the organization. But anyway, yun po. Rason po yan kung bakit ang witness hindi mag-cooperate. Pangapat, biases of the witness. Ano ibig sabihin ng biases? Yung mga prejudice natin. Prejudice sa mga witness. Ayaw niya kasi po yung suspect probably is his friend, or probably the witness or the suspect is somebody who was close to him once. Yung mga ganyan. Next, publicity avoidance. Especially yung mga timid. Ayaw nilang maging recognized in the community. They want to be publicized. Next, family restriction. Pag ako yung ama, tapos yung anak ko is invited to become a witness, of course, as a father, I would say no. Do not cooperate because that is something that could cause chaos and conflict between you and the other guy, the suspect. So, family restriction is one also of the causes. Bigotry. Yung bigotry, same lang po yan ang bias o prejudice. Then, cultist indoctrination. May mga organization po na binabawalan po yung mga membro nila na maging witness po. So yun po ang ibig sabihin ng cultist indoctrination. So ito yung mga rason. Kaya nga sabi ko kanina, although yung approach is just on the preliminary stages of the interview, although yung rapport could be in the preliminary stages of the interview, napaka-importante po na these things should be present and should be effectively executed by the investigator. Pag hindi po tama yung pag-execute sa approach po natin, yung pag-warming up po natin, nako, ano mangyayari pag naglalaro ka ng basketball, hindi ka nakapag-warm up? You might be into injury. In the same manner, pag ineffective yung warming up mo at saka yung approach mo towards the questioning of the witness, I tell you, talagang these factors, fear of reprisal up to cultist indoctrination will reign over the interview and the suspect or the witness will never talk to you. Okay? So, importante ha, na we follow the stages or yung components of the interview. Okay? Sunod, punta tayo sa custodial investigation. Tinatawag din po itong custodial interrogation. Nakabulol-bulol na. Custodial investigation or custodial interrogation. Okay? Now, ano ba ang custodial interrogation or custodial investigation? It is an investigation conducted by the investigator to a suspect who is under police custody. Yun po ang pinakauna dyan. Ibig sabihin, sino yung subject of the questioning? Suspitsado. Ano yung location ng suspitsado? Saan yung location niya? Nasa police custody. Okay? Secondly, ito po yung stage of investigation wherein there is a strict observance of the Miranda Doctrine. Okay? Now, balikan tayo ha. Balikan po natin yung Miranda Doctrine. Ito, I repeated this for several times. May Miranda Doctrine po tayo. Yung mga Miranda rights niya. Una, right to be informed of the cause and nature of accusation. Ano ibig sabihin sa unang right? Ibig sabihin, dapat you inform the person why he was been into custody and what's the reason thereof, why he has to be questioned. Okay? Rason. Yung type ng krimen that he is involved with. Dapat alam niya yan. Pangalawa, right to remain silent. Ang ibig sabihin ng right to remain silent, pag hindi sumagot yung suspect, ayaw niyang magsagot, ayaw niyang magbigay ng information, wala kang magawa. Ha? You cannot strike him with an M16. You cannot punch him in the face. If he refused to talk, then so be it, because that is his right. Pero, pag magsalita siya, yung isalita niya can be used against him as an evidence in court. Yun po. Pang-tatlo, the right to counsel. Anong ibig sabihin ng right to counsel? Yung right po, yung karapatan ng isang suspetsado na makapag-hire po ng isang abogado. It could be a private lawyer. Pero pag wala siyang private lawyer, kasi pobre o sino magpa-provide? Ay tutulong yung investigator maghanap ng abogado. Saan siya kukuha? Doon siya sa public attorney's office. Okay? Dapat alam niya yan. Now, ang tanong sa board examination, sa tatlong rights, saan po ba sa tatlo na right na yan ang pwedeng ma-waive? At tinatanong ko yung isang mga reviewers sa isang review center nito, hindi nila alam eh. Sa tatlong rights, ano po ba yung right na hindi pwedeng ma-waive or ma-surrender? Sa tatlong rights, yung una, yung right to be informed of the cause and nature of accusation is the right that cannot be waived. Cannot be waived po yan. Anong ibig sabihin ng cannot be waived? You cannot surrender. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin sa investigator, Sir, wag mo na lang akong i-inform kung ano yung krimen ko. That's very impractical. Kasi pag hindi ka nakapag-inform, how can you defend yourself in court? Hindi ka makapagdepensa. Pwedeng ma-waive. Sir, yung pangalawang tanong, pwede bang ma-waive yung right to remain silent? Pwede, of course. Kaya nga may admission and confession tayo eh. Pag mag-confess siya, ibig sabihin, that's the waiver of his right to remain silent. Right? Pangatlo, the right to counsel, pwede ba yung ma-surrender or ma-waive? Pwede. Pag abogado ka, pag hindi ka lang abogago, pag abogado ka, sikat ka na abogado, mas marunong ka pa kaysa mga abogado sa PAW. O di, no need to hire a lawyer. Maging lawyer ka sa sarili mo. Diba? Pwede yan ma-waive. Okay? Pero yung una, hindi yan. That cannot be waived. Okay? Miranda rights dapat po sa custodial investigation, ipaalam po natin sa suspect ano yung mga rights niya. Next, it is the skillful questioning of a suspect or a hostile witness to divulge information on the crime being investigated. For short, ang ini-investigate po nito is yung suspect, yung kinalaman niya po sa krimen. Okay? Next, ito, nagsisilabasan ito sa board examination, mga kadete. Setting of the interrogation. Sa lahat po na nagre-review right now, alam na po natin dapat ang features ng interrogation room. Una, it should be without ornaments or distraction. Ibig sabihin dyan, dapat walang mga frames, picture frames, painting, so on and so forth. Dapat walang ano yan, mga bling-blings. Walang bling-blings ang room dapat. It should be bare. Okay? Sunod, furniture should consist of a table and only enough chairs for the suspect and the interrogators. Isang lamesa, dalawang upuan po. Isang upuan para sa isang suspetsado, isang upuan na din po para sa isang interrogator. Pero ang upuan po dito, yung upuan ng interrogator must be slightly higher compared to the chair of the suspect. Bakit po kailangan mas mataas yung upuan ng interrogator? Kasi po for psychological reason. To establish, what do we say? To establish superiority towards the suspect. Okay? Pangapat, no windows in the room. Bakit po walang bintana? In order to avoid disruptions or distractions. Number 5, suspect should sit with his back at the door. Bakit po back from the door? Kasi po pag front siya, if he is fronting the door, if somebody will open the door, he will be disrupted. So in order to avoid disruptions again, dapat nakatalikod po yung suspechado from the door. Next, one-way mirror. Ano ibig sabihin ng one-way mirror? Yung makikita mo yung reflection mo. Hindi mo makikita yung nasa kabila. Di ba? One-way mirror. So, ang one-way mirror disguised as ordinary mirror. Okay? So, ibig sabihin dyan, makikita mo yung reflection mo, pero hindi mo makikita na may mga tao palang nag-o-observe sa'yo kung ano yung demeanor mo, kung ano yung mga actions mo na ginagawa mo in answering a particular question. Kasi po, yung mga actions natin, yung fidgeting, nervousness are signs of guilt. So, somebody will be observing you. Saan mag-o-observe yung other officers? Sa demeanor ng suspetsado while he is answering questions. Mag-o-observe sila sa interrogation room. So, ibig sabihin, sa kabila po, sa one-way mirror, sa kabila niyan, may mga officers na nag-o-observe sa'yo. Nag-o-observe sila sa tinatawag natin isang room. Yun po ay yung observation room, which is adjacent to the interrogation room. Okay? So, yun po ha. Stages of interrogation. Punta naman tayo sa stages of interrogation. Kanina, stages of interview yung sinasabi po natin. Now, ang Philippine jurisprudence po natin in People of the Philippines versus Galet and People of the Philippines versus Sison ay nagdidictate po sa correct procedure to be followed by the police officers in making arrest and conducting custodial investigation. Una po dito, dapat you have to identify yourself. Huwag kang maging barumbadong police officer na papasok na lang tapos gugulatin yung suspetsado. Hindi po pwede yan. Ang una dito, dapat nakapag-identify ka. Yan ang pinakauna, ha? Pangalawa, inform the reason for the arrest and show the warrant of arrest kung warranted arrest yan. Pero pag hindi naman warranted arrest yan, huwag ka na magpakita ng warrant of arrest. What's the purpose kung wala namang warrant? Pero pag warranted, ay pakita mo uli yung warrant of arrest niya kung meron. Then pangatlo, balik tayo, inform the suspect's rights. So ganito mga kaditi ha, the moment you arrest the person in the field, di ba, sasabihan mo ngayon ng Miranda rights niya. Ang sabi ko po, pag nasa field yan, for example, sa tiyanggi mo dinakip yung isang tao, for example, warrantless ha, pag sa tiyanggi mo dinakip, di ba, aside from stating the Miranda rights, dapat you have to notify him that the arrest has been recorded by the body-worn camera. I repeat, dapat may addendum yan. After you are done narrating the Miranda rights, you have to inform him that the arrest has been recorded or is recorded by the body-worn camera. Yun po ang sabi ng Supreme Court ha. Yun ang sabi ng Supreme Court. Okay? Sir, kailangan pa bang sabihin yung body-worn camera sa custodial interrogation? Wala na. Hindi ka na kasi yung informing the person that the arrest has been recorded, ginagawa lang yon doon po sa pagdakip. Pero pag custodial interrogation, focus ka na lang, Brad, sa Miranda rights. Again, identify. Then pangalawa, inform the reason. And then pangatlo, inform the suspects about his rights. Okay? Sunod, tingnan natin yung General stages, kanina stages yon nung sinasabi ng Supreme Court ha. Pero ito, general stages of interrogation ito. Initial una, pangalawa focusing, pangatlo concluding stage. Yung initial stage mga kadete, tinatawag itong introductory part. Okay? So sa initial stage, clearly state the reason for the suspect's presence and establish the crime about which he or she is to be questioned. The name of the victim, time and place of the crime. So ito po yung dapat ang ginagawa sa initial stage. Yung rason kung bakit ang suspetsado is in your custody. Bakit po sila tatanungin? But then again, identify muna yung sarili mo. Pangalawa, after you state the reason, doon ka na sa main body, yung tinatawag nating focusing stage. Ito ay concerned with the activity and whereabouts of the suspects about the time of the crime. Anong ibig sabihin yan? Tinatanong mo ngayon kung saan siya nung yung krimen is nagawa. Okay? Questions whether the suspect had ever been at the scene or in contact with the victim and under what circumstances. Napaka-understandable niyan. Pangatlo, yung closing part, concluding stage po yan. So, pag may confession, mas maganda. Para mas madali yung yung trabaho mo. So, anong gagawin? Pag may confession, you make or you take a formal statement of the suspect. Ano ibig sabihin ng taking a formal statement? Ibig sabihin, the confession has to be in writing. Okay? Then, ask the classic concluding questions such as, ito yung tinatawag nating classic, pati na po yung sa interview, classic din po ito. Is there anything else you wish to about or any correct you wish to add or any correction you wish to make in your story at this time? Okay? So, yun po, concluding stage po yan. Okay? Next, techniques, methods in conducting interrogation. Ang lumabas po sa previous board examination, yung jolting at saka yung role of Matt and Jeff. As far as I can remember, dalawa po yung lumabas dito, yung jolting at saka yung Matt and Jeff. So pag babalik ito, then much better. Pero para at least comprehensive mga kadete, nilagyan ko po ito ng how many? How many did I put? 20. Para at least pag magsisilabasan, in any of this, makukuha nyo yung tamang sagot. Okay? 20 po. Imagine, yung sa mga libro, 10 lang yan. But for me, talagang 20 para sure ball. Okay? Una, emotional appeal. Ano ibig sabihin ng emotional appeal? Ito po yung pagkukumbine ng skill ng isang investigator as an actor and psychologist. Ano ibig sabihin ng actor and psychologist? Huwag mong damdamin, Brad, yung pag-i-investigate, ang pag-i-interrogate, kasi pag damdamin mo yan, mamatay ka sa high blood, Choy. Pag mamatay ka, ano mangyari sa'yo? Yung asawa mo, might be crying for 1 month. After 1 month, iba na yung kukuha ng pension mo, Brad. So, huwag mong damdamin. Maging actor ka, you have to pretend on something. Ano psychologist? Ano ibig sabihin ng psychologist? Dapat mag-gauge mo, may evaluate mo kung ano yung demeanor, yung behavior ng isang accused. At the same time, recalibrate kung ano dapat gawin. Recalibrate your approach. Recalibrate your strategy. That's being a psychologist. You identify, you study the behavior of the suspect. Okay? So pag alam mo na, you can actually utilize sympathetic approach. Ano ba yung sympathetic approach? Ang gagawin ng investigator, he will dig deep to the plights, yung mga troubles, yung mga unfortunate events ng suspetsado. Probably you will sympathize by saying, pareho pala tayo. Nung ako, bata pa, pobre din po ako. I was eating ginamos. I was eating salt together with my rice para lang may viand ako. Just try to sympathize, okay? Sympathizing with the suspect. At the same time, offer for help. So sabihin mo ngayon, tutulungan kita through kindness or friendliness. And then, of course, if the person will be swayed by your infatuated, friendly type of manner, he may confess to you. Okay? Yun po, sympathetic approach po yan. Number 3, friendliness. Part din po yan ng sympathetic approach. Ang friendliness is a friendly approach coupled with a posture of sincerity. Okay, iba po yung sympathetic yung sympathetic talagang you dig deeper on the past struggles ng suspechado. Sa friendliness, you do not need to dig deep. You just establish friendliness towards the suspect. Pang-apat, itong tinatawag nating tricks and bluff. Okay? Ano ba ibig sabihin ng tricks and bluff? Una dito, yung pretense of solid evidence against the accused. So, ibig sabihin dito, you are pretending that there is an evidence, solid evidence or prima facie evidence that you got from the crime scene that will pin down the suspect. Pero ang totoo, talagang wala ang ebidensya na solid pa dyan. Kaya nga, nag-i-interrogate ka eh. So, you just pretend na may nakuha akong semen kasi rape case or probably there is a particular thing that was left at the crime scene that belongs to the suspect. So, you just pretend na may ebidensya na. And then, sabihan mo ngayon yung witness, yung suspect. Pag hindi ka nagsalita, it will have the same outcome kasi may ebidensya na nga eh. So, that's one of the strategy. Pretense of solid evidence against the accused or tricks and bluff. Next, ang weakest link mga kadete, ginagawa lang po ito pag may dalawa or tatlo or may apat, meaning more than one suspects. Ang general rule of thumb po natin sa mga magte-take ng board examination, pag more than one po yung suspects, general rule of thumb, the questioning should be done individually. Hindi uso ang focus group discussion dito, Brad. Ang uso nito, individual questioning Ibig sabihin, one suspect, one interrogation room, nag-iisa lang po. They have to be separated. Bakit po they have to be separated? In order to avoid duplication of statements. So, ginagawa po ang weakest link pag marami po, more than one po yung mga suspect. So, ano ang gagawin dito? Yung pinaka-weak, that is why you have to be a psychologist. Pag dalawang suspechado yan, tingnan mo ngayon, saan ba sa dalawa yung weak? Sabihin mo ngayon, si Pedro is much weaker compared to Juan. Pupunta ka kay Pedro. And then, after you go to Pedro, you go to Juan. And then you say, Oy, Juan, nagsalita na, nag-confess na si Pedro. So, Juan might be into confession also. Okay? But in reality, hindi nag-confess yung una, yung kasama niya. You just pretend na nag-confess na siya, but in reality, hindi. So, yan po, weakest link po yan. Sunod, drama. Part po sa weakest link, yung magpi-fake po ng pain and agony sa isang suspechado na weak. For example, kanina, sino ba yung weak? Di ba si Pedro? So, pupunta ka kay Pedro, sabihin mo, you make a pretentious shout. You shout. And then you make a sound as if you are in pain. On the other side, on the other room, maririnig yan ng kasama niya, si Juan. So, by hearing the voices, it might create a psychological effect on the part of Juan. Sabihin niya kayo, ma-intimidate siya, di ba? To the point na magka-confess yung tao. Okay? Next, feigning contact with family members. The suspect could also be tricked that the investigator had gone to the residence and the family members have supplied facts against the suspect. So, pretend lang, but in reality, hindi ka pumunta sa pamilya ng suspechado. You just pretend na pumunta ka sa pamilya and then the family confess or provided information against the suspect. Okay? Next, line up. Dito sa line up, the complainant, witnesses, or victim is requested to point positively the suspect who is among the person in the police lineup. Sa police lineup, mga kadete, huwag kalimutan the same gender or sex, the same height, the same features of the face, the same physical stature dapat nakaline. For example, may 7 na mga tao sa loob. One of the person in that 7 individuals is the suspect of the crime. Papupunta yung witness to identify the suspect. Police lineup po ang tawag niyan. Or ito, reverse lineup. Ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng reverse lineup? The suspect is placed among other persons in a lineup and he is identified by the several complainants and witnesses who will associate the suspect to other several crimes. This will cause the suspect to become desperate and confess only to the case under investigation to avoid from being charged on false accusation. So, napaklaro po nito sa reverse lineup na you are inside the room, pupunta yung iba't ibang witnesses, yung iba dyan, yung ibang witnesses, mag-accuse sa'yo ng crimes that are not actually credible. Hindi nangyayari sa totoong buhay. They will just accuse you. So, ma-overwhelm ka. Alam mo that you have been accused with different crimes and some of these crimes did not actually happen in real life. So, once you got anxious, overwhelmed, mag-confess ka sa krimen that you really committed and not on the crime na hindi mo na-commit. Next, stern approach. Ano ibig sabihin ng stern? Yung pagka-stricto. Okay? Magamit yan pag especially yung subject is nervyoso. Okay? Yung stern approach at saka yung jolting, magamit yan. Next, pretense of physical evidence. Yung pretense of physical evidence, ang ibig sabihin po nito, that there is an evidence that has already been subjected to laboratory examination and the result is against the suspect. Okay? Sunod, jolting. So, yung jolting, yung nagsisigaw ka. That you pretend as if you are in an apparent righteous rage. Nagagalit ka. So, this will break the suspect nerves will break to a confession. Okay? Lumabas po ito sa board examination. Nung yung nagsisigaw. Iba yung stern approach. Yung stern approach, parang yung demeanor mo, yung appearance mo, stricto. Pero sa jolting, talagang nagsasalita ka. You are shouting, nagsisigawan ka, sinisigawan mo yung suspetsado, to the point that the suspect will confess. Next, number 13, itong indifference. Sa indifference, mga kadete, dalawa po ang investigators dito, ha? Ibig sabihin ng indifference, parang hindi interesado yung isang investigator. They will just pretend, yung isang investigator will pretend, or they will pretend to have a debate among each other in front of the suspect. The other investigator will debate about a conviction to a maximum penalty. At the same time, yung isang investigator will oppose on it, saying that it should not be in maximum penalty, but it should be in the medium or minimum penalty only. They will just be debating, or probably the other investigator will just say, kahit anong gawin natin, we cannot help this person kasi there's a strong evidence. Formality lang ito. So, maximum penalty yan. Sabihin ngayon ng isa nga, wag na, doon na lang sa medium penalty. Kasi pag mag-confess siya, baka mailagay pa natin sa minimum penalty. So, indifference can also create a psychological impact on the suspect hearing the debate to the point that the suspect will confess. Okay? Next. Feigning protection and consideration. The investigator asks series of questions appearing to be formalities with the impression that he knows the answers. That these questions are asked as matter of consideration of the rights, protection, and advantage of the suspect. Dito sa feigning protection and consideration, nagpe-pretend ka lang. Isang investigator lang po ito, ha? Nagpe-pretend ka. Sa mga answers, you are pretending that the answers of the suspects are not of interesting nature. Kasi in the first place, you're pretending na alam mo na lahat. And that you are just asking these questions in a formality way. You are just asking this question because this is part of the standard of procedure. And you do not have anything to do about it. Wala kang magawa sa buhay. Talagang wala ka na magawa because there is a need to go with the process. You ask him questions but you already know the answer. But all of these are just pretense. In reality, hindi mo alam kung ano talaga yung sagot. But you're just pretending na you are asking questions and you already know the answer anyway. So, that could also create a psychological impact on the part of the suspect. See, there are so many ways in killing the dog eh. Kaya nga yung interrogation is also an art. Interview is also an art. Investigation in general is an art. Okay? Next. Ito, opportunity to lie. The suspect is given all the opportunity to lie. Then the suspect is questioned about his activities prior during and after the commission of the crime. The suspect will be enmeshed to contradictions which the investigator capitalized to get the truth out from the suspects. So dito ha, hindi lang isang interrogation setup dito. Marami ha. Tinatanong mo siya about prior to the crime, during the crime, and after the crime, kung saan po ba siya. So, you give him the opportunity to lie. And if you see contradicting questions, you capitalize. If you see contradicting answers, you capitalize on that contradicting answers for you to obtain confession and admission coming from the suspect. I-capitalize mo kung ano yung mga areas na nagko-conflict, yung mga statements na nagko-conflict. And then, you elaborate more on it, you dwell on it, you focus on it, para yung tao will be pinned down into confession. Yun po, opportunity to lie. Kaya nang lumabas mga kadete, itong tinatawag na Matt and Jeff ha. Lumabas ito sa board examination. Last CLA. So sa Matt and Jeff, dalawang investigators ito. Just like in deference. In deference, dalawa din po na investigators. Now sa Matt and Jeff, may tinatawag na yung sweet and sour. The good guy and the bad guy. Pwede din pong good cop and the bad cop. Isa lang yan. Ibig sabihin yan. Role of Matt and Jeff lang yan. So, dito po, ang una pong pumunta po sa interrogation room is yung si Matt. Si Matt ha. Si Matt, ito yung nagpe-pretend that he is a rough guy. That he is a strict and a dangerous police officer. So, pag after he identified himself, parang stricto siya, nagsisigawan siya. Talagang magtapang-tapangan siya doon. After that, lalabas si Matt. Tapos, paglabas ni Matt, ang papalit po si Jeff. Si Jeff, ito yung sweet. Parang romantic guy. So, ito yung friendly cop. Pupunta siya doon sa suspetsado. Sabihin niya ngayon, pasensya na. Talagang ganyan si Sir Matt. So, ako na po yung papalit. So, ano po ba talaga ang nangyari? Tutulungan kita. Yung mga ganyan. So, from being into a state of being intimidated to the state of being friendly. So, there might be a possibility na yung suspetsado po, during the time of Jeff's entrance, there's a big possibility na yung suspetsado will confess to Jeff, yung friendly cop. Okay? So, yun po ang ibig sabihin ng Matt and Jeff. The role of Matt and Jeff. Dalawang investigators yan, mga kadete ha. Sunod, rationalization. So, sa rationalization, it is the use of reasons that is acceptable to the subjects that led to the commission of the crime. Thus, it may be said that sometimes killing is a necessity rather than the purpose or design. Robbery may be a necessity to feed a starving family. O yun po, ibig sabihin yan, rationalization. From the word rationalization, you are trying to justify na yung ginawa ng suspetsado is okay lang. Pag nagsisell siya ng droga, you rationalize by saying, kaya pala nagsisell ka ng droga, nagpo-push ka ng droga kasi po, wala kang pera and you need something to support your family. And now I understand. Pero in reality, you're just trying to pretend all these things. So magko-confess siya. Rationalization po ang tawag. Or number 18, projection. Ano ibig sabihin na projection? Sa theories of crime causation, pareho lang din yan. Projection, you project, you put the blame. The blame to other persons or to other institutions. You might say, kaya pala you're into selling drugs kasi po yung government is not providing you with enough opportunity to work. Or maybe you will say, yun pala, kaya pala you are a member of the New People's Army kasi po yung government natin is not giving what is due to you. Yung mga ganyan. That's projection. You blame persons or you blame agencies. Number 19, minimization. Ang minimization naman is minimizing the culpability of the suspect. Yung criminal liability niya, i-minimize mo. The investigator convinces the suspects that the confession will reduce the offense and the penalty. So, common approach po ito sa mga police officers po natin, yung minimization. Sinasabihan yung suspetsado, sige na, mag-confess ka na. Kasi pag hindi ka nakapag-confess, ang liability mo, ang punishment mo is 20 years. Pero pag mag-confess ka, magiging 3 years na lang. Of course, the suspect will go to the 3 years. Will go with the 3 years, right? So he will confess. But in reality, yung criminal niya is only punishable by 3 years lang talaga. Diba? It's just a matter of pretense. Next, avoidance to direct eye-to-eye contact. So, it may manifest guilt or deception, misty or teary eyes indicate remorse or repentance. Pero, hindi naman lahat. Yung number 20 po, is a sign of lying. Pero, do not rely too much on this. Kasi po, there are instances that because of level of education, the person might be avoiding eye-to-eye contact. Okay? Pero pag ang tao naman is edukado, you can actually see the eyes, that the eyes are telling other things. Kasi po yung eyes po natin is considered to be the entrance to the soul. So if you take a look closely on the eyes of the person, you can actually see his soul, whether he's telling the truth or not. But then again, do not be too dependent on this method. Kasi po, not all the times, avoidance to direct eye-to-eye contact is a good ground of lying. Okay? Alright, yun po ang mga techniques, methods in conducting interrogation. I hope I was able to give the correct information needed for you to take the board examination. Hindi pa po tayo tapos, mga kadete. Ito, techniques, methods in conducting interrogation. Part pa din po ito, removing the ethnic or cultural barrier. Pag ang suspetsado is Ilocano, dapat he should be interrogated by an Ilocano investigator. And the same with other ethnic or cultural group. And the same with other ethnic or cultural groups. Pag Bisaya, dapat Bisaya. Pag Tagalog, dapat Tagalog. Pag Bisaya, daw ka mag-English. Pag investigator ka, hindi ka naman sikat. Mag-English ka lang pag Englishero yung suspetsado. Sunod, searching for the soft spot. In every man's heart, there is always the softest spot. Once discovered, there must be a face-to-face meeting with a special person of him or her, and that still heart will melt down. This technique is also used in crisis management or hostage situation. Who knows? Yung makapagpasalita lang sa isang suspetsado is his girlfriend or probably the family member. Okay? So, importante din po yan. Next, confession and admission. Okay? Ito mga cadets, part din po ito ng table of specification. And this is also mentioned in criminal law subject, right? So, himay-himayin natin sa mga estudyante pa lang natin, dapat naintindihan na po natin kung ano po ba talaga ang admission at confession. Dapat sa criminal law book 1 pa lang, alam mo na Brad, kung ano yung confession and admission. Ano ang pagkaiba sa dalawa, okay? Para mas maintindihan mga kadete, ganito po Pag confession, nagko-confess ka, sinasabi mo sa investigator na ikaw po yung nagnakaw sa pera sa loob ng opisina ni Juan de la Cruz. Confession po yon. Yung admission, you admitted na pumunta ka sa opisina ni Juan de la Cruz pero hindi ikaw yung nagnakaw. Kaya nga tinatawag siyang indirect acknowledgement of guilt. Kasi ina-acknowledge mo that you were present in the crime scene but you were not the one who committed the crime. Yun po ang admission. Again, I'd like to repeat mga kadete. In a theft case, ikaw yung suspetsado. Sa confession, ina-admit mo lahat. Sabi namin mo, pumunta ako sa opisina ni Juan de la Cruz. I opened the drawer of Juan de la Cruz. There was a 1 million pesos money. I took the 1 million. Confession yun, Brad. Pero sa admission, sabihin mo lang, pumunta ako doon. Yes, pumunta ako sa opisina ni Juan de la Cruz, but I did not stole the money inside the drawer. So, ibig sabihin, sa admission, you acknowledge on certain facts. Certain lang hindi pangkalahatan. On certain areas. But you do not admit or you do not acknowledge all of the areas. Sa confession, you acknowledge all. You acknowledge all liability. Sa admission, hindi lahat. Ina-admit mo that you were present at the crime scene, but you denied that you are the one committing the crime. Yun po ang pagkakaiba sa dalawa. I hope klaro na po yan. ang difference ng admission at saka yung confession. So pag tanungin kayo ulit, anong pagkakaiba ng confession? Confession is direct acknowledgement of guilt. Admission is indirect acknowledgement of guilt. Ibig sabihin, ganito. Okay? So, provide an example para mas maintindihan. Now, balik tayo sa confession. Ang confession po mga kadete, dalawa po yan ha. Judicial confession at saka yung extrajudicial. Okay? Yung judicial confession, ito yung confession po na nangyayari doon mismo sa loob ng korte. Judicial yan. Sa extrajudicial, ito yung mga confession na nangyayari outside the court. For example, nagko-confess siya doon sa police station. Anong tawag? Judicial or extrajudicial? Ang sagot, extrajudicial. Pag nagko-confess siya in front of ABS-CBN or TV5, GMA, kung ano pa mang mga TV networks dyan, nagko-confess siya in front of television. Ano tawag sa confession? Edi extrajudicial, Brad, kasi nga wala sa korte. Pag nasa korte, judicial confession yan. Ano pa ka-easy? Okay? Next. So, mga requirements po natin para ang confession or admission can be accepted as evidence in court. Una, it should be in writing and under oath. Ano ibig sabihin nito? Ibig sabihin ng writing, it could be handwritten, it could be printed. Okay? Pwede tayo printed din po. Under oath, dapat you swear in front of a notary public, notary officer, or yung lawyer. Okay? It must be written in language known and understood by the accused. If not, must be clearly translated. Klarong-klaro yan ha. Dapat kung Bisaya, dapat Bisaya. Dapat may translation din po na English. Okay? Next, it must be freely and voluntarily given by the accused. So, pag hindi freely, ano ibig sabihin ng freely and voluntary? Sa gusto niya, binigay niya yung information. Nagko-confess siya. Pero, pag gumamit ka ng dahas, for example, you strike him with an M16, you force him by subjecting him into brutality, and the person confessed at the last stage, the confession is a fruit of the poisonous tree. Hindi yan magagamit kasi yung confession niya is not voluntary. Next, under the new constitution, it must be taken in the presence of a competent and independent counsel chosen by the accused. Yan po ang panlas. So, dapat, ang pagkuha ng confession, dapat andyan yung abogado. So, during the interrogation, pag magkukonfess na yung tao, kukuha ka ngayon ng abogado, sabihin mo, attorney, magkukonfess siya. So, ang attorney po is mag-assist in the getting of the confession. Alright? Next, principles of dying declaration. Ito, sir, bakit ba nasali yan? Isinali ko po ito mga kadete kasi po talagang parte po ito ng TOS under this subject. So, pasensya na po ha. Talagang, to be honest with you, and to give you the direct answer. Talagang this is part of the TOS po. Yung dying declaration. That is why supposedly this should be discussed in evidence pero kailanganin po dito So I have to put this again. So dying declaration, ano ibig sabihin ng dying declaration? Dying when the person is at the stage of death. Okay? Dapat impending death. Okay? Ibig sabihin, the person is suffering from a lethal wound and he is about to die. Okay? So, dying. Yun po ang definition na ng dying natin, ha? Suffering from lethal wound, tapos he is on the impending death. Pero pag laceration lang yan, abrasion lang, ay nako, or contusion, hindi naman po dying yan. These are not lethal wounds. So, what is a declaration? A declaration is a statement. Okay? It's a statement. So, dying declaration is a statement of a dying person. Okay? Made under the consciousness of an impending death. Ano ibig sabihin ng consciousness of an impending death? From the word consciousness, ibig sabihin, alam na niya that he cannot survive, that he is going to die with this particular wound. Yun po. May be received in any case wherein his death is the subject of inquiry as evidence of the cause and surrounding circumstances of such death. So again, ang sabi dito pag ang subject of the inquiry in the court are the circumstances kung bakit siya namatay o yung dying declaration can be used as evidence. Take note po, tinatawag din po itong antemortem statement or statement of articulum mortis. I mentioned about articulum mortis in juvenile subject. So, statement in articulum mortis. Ibig sabihin, dying declaration yan. Right? So, requisites of dying declaration. Una, dapat death is imminent and the declarant is conscious of the fact. Ano ibig sabihin ng death is imminent? Klarong-klaro na talagang pupunta na, dadalhin na siya ni kamatayan. Pangalawa, the declarant is conscious. Ano ibig sabihin ng conscious? Alam niya po that he cannot survive in this wound. Okay? Pero pag nag-hallucinate siya during the impending death, then requirement number 1 is not met. Dapat normal yung pag-iisip niya. He is on the imminent death and then alam niya po that this wound can cause death and that he cannot survive. Okay? Number 2, the declaration refers to the cause and the surrounding circumstances of such death. Meaning, ang deklarasyon niya is about who shot him, who stabbed him, who bumped against him, who hit him, kung sino-sino man yung Poncio Pilato na dapat tinuturo niya that caused him with a particular injury. Dapat yung yung circumstance surrounding the death of that person. Number 3, the declaration relates to a fact which the victim is competent to testify. Sabi dito declaration relates to a fact which the victim is competent. Kailan maging competent yung witness? Ay nako, klarong-klaro dyan sa evidence. Maging competent ang isang testigo, maging competent ang isang witness if he can perceive and he can make known such perception to other person. Ibig sabihin, normal yung pag-iisip niya and he can communicate his perception to the other guy. So basically, competent po. Pero again, ang sabi ko kanina, pag nag-hallucinate na siya, when he is about to die, naging delusional na siya, when he is about to die, yung perception niya is already disrupted. So therefore, he is no longer competent. Pero pag normal pa, he can perceive or make known such perception to the other person. Nako, pwede po. Pasok po tayo sa dying declaration. Number 4, the declaration is offered in a case wherein the declarant's death is the subject of the inquiry. Ito po sabi ko kanina, dapat yung dying declaration is only offered if the subject of the inquiry is about the cause of the death of the person. Okay? So, yun po dying declaration. Now, mga kadets, may dalawang terms that I'd like to dwell before I will end this first episode. Mga kadets, 3 episodes po tayo I cannot put this in 1 episode. Dapat comprehensive po tayo. Okay? 3 terms na lang. Okay? 3 terms na lang. No, 2 terms rather. 2 terms na lang. Una, principles of independent relevant statement na makikita sa TOS. Pangalawa, yung res gestae na hindi actually kasali sa TOS. Pero inilagay ko yung res gestae kasi po yung res gestae has something to do with independent relevant statement. Para hindi po tayo ma-confuse. Pero yung res gestae wala yan sa TOS. Ang nandyan lang sa TOS is principles of independent relevant statement. Okay? Now, ano ba ang principles of independent relevant statement? Ibig sabihin ng independent relevant statement, ito po yung mga statement that is admissible as evidence because the fact that it was made is relevant and not its truth or falsity. Now, I'd like you to concentrate mga kadete on the phrase fact that it was made is relevant and not its truth or falsity. Confusing yan, pero ganito po. Ibig sabihin yan, hindi na po kailanganing titingnan kung ang isang statement is mali ba or tama. The moment that that statement was made, automatically magiging ebidensya siya. Unacceptable yung ebidensya na yan sa korte. Okay? Para mas maintindihan, ito yung mga examples. Statements that show a person's state of mind, such as their knowledge, beliefs, intentions, or emotions. So, yung mga statement na binibigay po ng isang witness or ng isang tao, kung ano yung emotion niya, nasisiyahan ba siya when the crime was committed? Was he sad? Do you have to prove to the court that saying sad really happened? No need. Okay? Statements that identify a date, place, or condition, or yung statements that allow an inference to be drawn about another person's state of mind. Ibig sabihin, may nakita ka, and yung nakita mo, isang tao that was panicking. So, when you say to the court, Your Honor, nakikita ko, he was panic because he was doing like this, like that. Hindi na po importante kung i-dwell, kung tama ba yung sinasabi mo. Yung sinasabi mo, by saying that you saw that the person was in panic is automatically an independent, relevant statement that can be used as evidence in the court. Now, last phrase po that I'd like to dwell before pupunta tayo sa example ng jurisprudence. Res gestae. Ang res gestae naman, ito yung mga statement na ginagawa po ng isang tao, binibitawan ng isang tao if he is influenced by overwhelmed by an event. Okay? It's a Latin term that refers to events or circumstances that are related to or contemporaneous with the events at issues. Ibig sabihin, yung sinasalita po natin, yung mga salita binibitawan po ng isang tao when he is overwhelmed with a particular event. And these statements are admissible in the court because distortion or concoction can be disregarded during the time that the statements are made. Okay? For example, a victim's statements to others immediately after an attack. For example, you have been stabbed. You have been stabbed. Yung statements mo po na sinasabi mo after you have been attacked cannot be something that is considered to be a crafted lie. Sino ba namang tao ang maglalay after he was immediately after he was been attacked? Hindi na po. Concocting, ibig sabihin, you cannot craft lying statement after you are attacked. The 999 call, okay? A statement made by a neighbor who called the police shortly after a home invasion. Mga res gestae po yan. Now, again, res gestae, ito po yung mga statements that were made when a person is under the overwhelming event. Okay? Para mas maintindihan po natin mga kadete kung ano po ba yung res gestae at saka yung independent relevant statement, may jurisprudence po na inilagay dito. Okay? Nilagyan ko po ng jurisprudence para mas maintindihan. This is about a killing on a particular child, isang bata na pinatay po. Okay? Now, ito po yung facts of the case, ha? Si Gary, married but separated with a 3-year-old son, Ben. Ang suspetsado dito si Gary. May anak siya na 3-year-old si Ben. Now, si Gary at saka si Ben ay naninirahan po with Lola Salve. Si Lola Salve, siya yung grandmother, siya yung lola sa asawa ni Gary. Estranged wife po, ibig sabihin niyan, separated po sila. So, si Lola Salve is the one taking care of Ben, together with their houseboy na si Berto. So, ilan sila lahat? 4. Si Gary, yung ama, yung anak si Ben, yung lola ng bata, si Lola Salve. Si Lola Salve, siya din po yung ina sa estranged wife ni Gary at saka yung helper nila, itong si Berto. Okay? Isang umaga, 11 o'clock, si Ben was rushed to hospital, carried by Berto. Si Berto yung nagdadala, followed by Lola Salve who was shouting hysterically. Ang Ben's face was swollen and bruised and his body covered with dry blood. Si Lola Salve, however, repeatedly said in the series of cries and tears that Ben, ito yung mga statement ni Lola Salve, ha, pinatay ng sariling ama. The old woman told the people inside the emergency room that the boy's father, si Gary, wouldn't allow Ben to come with her. Ayaw kasi ni Gary daw na pupunta yung bata sa kanya. And when Ben started to cry and wouldn't stop crying, si Gary began to beat Ben so hard, tied his hands and made tusok-tusok. Ito yung statement ni Lola Salve, ha. In his body, he continued beating Ben, even if the excrements were already coming out from the boy's anus. Ibig sabihin, nakatai na due to the pain experienced by the boy. Naku, it's a very cringy kind of crime. So, bali yung bata was been tied, subjected to a lot of pain and injury to the point yung excrement sa lumabas na sa kanyang from his anus. Aman yan. Hayop siya. Then Ben was pronounced dead by the doctor as Lola Salvi knelt and cried beside him. Okay? So, after this, the limpid caught the attention of Rhea Medina, another character in the story. One of the people in the ER who brought her daughter Nika for removal of some stitches in her head. So dito, may nakakita, may nakapag-witness sa reaction ni Lola Salvi. Itong si Rhea Medina, who happened to be in the ER also. Dinala niya kasi yung bata niya, si Nika, para ma-remove yung tahi sa ulo. Rhea's conscience was bothered what she saw and heard. So she decided to do something about it. She approached attorney Media Abarquez, who requested the NBI for exhumation of the cadaver. The exhumation report revealed the grave and fatal injuries, internal and external, which caused Ben's death and could have resulted only from violence or strong physical force. So nung in-examine yung patayang katawan ni Ben, doon nakikita ni attorney Media Abarquez na talagang pinatay siya. Namatay siya due to fatal injuries. So, because of this NBI report, at saka yung sworn statement ni Rhea, si Rhea Medina, nag-file ng information for parricide against Gary. Okay? So, anong sabi ng Supreme Court? Ang sabi ng Supreme Court, that insofar as the statements of Lola Salvi are concerned, they are admissible. Yung sabi, di ba, may sinasabi si Salvi nung pumunta siya sa hospital na it was Gary who murdered the child, that Gary subjected Ben to physical injury. Yun po, yung mga statements ni Salvi po, considered to be a res gestae. Bakit po? Kasi po, nasa overwhelming event po siya. Yung pagkamatay ni Ben, yung pagdala ni Ben mismo sa hospital is an overwhelming event. To the point, pag overwhelming event kasi, hindi ka pwedeng mag-craft ng lie. So, basically, yung sinasabi mo during an overwhelming event is considered to be admissible as a true statement. Happen in real life. So, yung statement ni Lola Salvi, res gestae, caused by and resulting from the starting and gruesome occurrence that she witnessed, which was uttered with spontaneity and without prior opportunity to contrive the same. Ibig sabihin, it was done in the influence of an overwhelming event. On the other hand, yung statement naman ni Rhea Medina is not considered to be a hearsay. Kasi nga po, yung statement niya is admissible under the doctrine of independent relevant statement. So mga kadete, yung statement ni Medina, independent relevant statement, yung statement ni Lola Salvi, tinatawag yung res gestae. Res gestae, yung mga statement that you give or that you utter when you are influenced by an overwhelming event. Yung kay Medina naman, yung statement niya, that will describe of the situation or the status, emotional status of Lola Salvi when Lola Salvi was bringing Ben inside the hospital. So yung statement ni Rhea Medina, magiging independent relevant statement. Kung ano yung nakita niya sa behavior ni Salvi, nakita niya si Salvi that she was crying in tears, that she was shouting these statements, so on and so forth. So yung statement niya po is an independent relevant statement. Magagamit po siya not as a hearsay kind of evidence, but rather an evidence that is admissible in the court. So yun po ang pagkakaiba mga kadete. And I hope I was able to provide the necessary understanding nyo po in the preparation for the criminologist licensure examination. Maraming salamat po mga kadete for patronizing the Bikoino YouTube channel. Maraming salamat po and God bless everyone.